I am very glad to welcome you back to our channel in a very special way, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you as always for your continued support. We still continue to follow up on what is happening on the second day of Ruto's Mount Kenya tour that is supposed to go for 5 days. Now, yesterday, William Ruto shocked the nation because he actually stormed Mount Kenya with the support of Mainanjenga's, is it Mungiki or his boys? And then, of course, he took the war to Rigathi Gachagua. William Ruto wanted to set the record straight that I'm not afraid of you. Remember, he's doing this after relieving the former Attorney General Muturi of his duties. He was telling Gachagua, I can do this to your people. There's nothing you can do. I have brought the war to your doorstep. But one thing that shocked many people is that Rigathi's closest allies, the Nyeri governor Mutahi Kahiga, joined William Ruto's rally. And he welcomed William Ruto, told William Ruto, let no one tell you that you should not come to Nyeri. Kuja na ukuje zaidi. And if you look at what was happening, the photos that they had with people like Oscar Sudi were quite exaggerated. They were meant to show Rigathi Gachagua and maybe his supporters that things have changed. And many people branded Mutahi Kahiga a traitor, a mole. They felt that he was being disloyal to Rigathi Gachagua because Nyeri is Rigathi's home turf. But it turns out that this was a psychological war. Brain encounter brains, and Rigathi Gachagua might have beaten Ruto in his own game because after what people thought was a successful reception in Mount Kenya, things were very different on the second day. And Karungu Athango is saying something, that Governor Kahiga did well to attend the April Fool's Day celebration. In warfare, this is known as deliberate exposure or a bait strategy, a psychological move to observe the enemy's reaction to someone they consider an opponent. This photo says it all, and it's giving us that photo there of people like Oscar Sudi there. They're having a smile there. I think it was smiling for the camera optics. Ukiona shetani akikupigia makofi wakati uko kwenye laini ya kwenda kuokoka, toka kwa hiyo laini. In other words, Karungu Athango, a man who is very close to Rigathi. These are the senators and governors who have always been very close to Rigathi Gachagua. When you see him trying to explain what Mutahi Kahiga was trying to do, then we can believe him. I still hold very strongly to the philosophy of and the analogy that when a crocodile tells you something about the hippopotamus, you better believe, because Karungu Athango is part of the inner circle of Rigathi Gachagua, and I believe Rigathi Gachagua might have sent this governor, because sometimes in the art of war, you need to read the mind of your people. Now, not only that, while people were getting excited about Ruto's reception in the mountain, Caleb Amisi is reminding them of something here. And Caleb Amisi is saying, if you look at the photo there, I want you to look at the multitude. I want you to look at the mammoth crowd. And Honorable Caleb Amisi is saying that, can you imagine this was Raila Odinga rally in Nyeri during his campaigns? Don't joke with voters. They are smart. Kenya needs a renaissance. Now, you know, the Chinese have got a say that a picture is more than 1,000 words. What Caleb Amisi is simply reminding William Ruto and his cohorts is that the fact that very many people came in his rally does not mean that these people love him, because you can see the crowd there that welcomed Raila during the Rero Rero ni Rero. You remember what happened when they were with Martha Karua, but they never turned out to vote for him. So it was a warning to William Samoei Ruto. But if you want to know that what Caleb Amisi is saying is true, and he corroborates what Karim Wathangwa, the senator of Kiambu, is saying, then I want you to watch this, because these are videos that you've seen, how the Kieni MP was heckled just a day after a warm reception. They were part of the group that brought William Ruto to Mount Kenya. These rebels who voted to impeach Rigathi Gachagua, they thought it was all rosy until today, when they realized that it's becoming a daunting task and that Mount Kenya is not ready. Kindly see how he was heckled, and we'll show you that the fact that people were attending Ruto's rally does not mean anything.
Akaimba wimbo na akasema, Kenyatta alisema hakuna cha bure. Kenyatta alisemaje? Kenyatta alisema hakuna.
So maybe I would start by asking, why would the same people who welcomed William Ruto yesterday heckle his allies? It reminds me of a sermon that I once witnessed, where someone was telling us that the very people who welcomed Jesus Christ on his way to Jerusalem are the very people who shouted that he should be crucified and demanded for the release of Barnabas. The very people who welcomed William Ruto are the same people heckling his allies. And it can only tell you that William Ruto's attempt to try and galvanize the support base of Mount Kenya are a fiasco. The efforts did not bear any fruit. And this is why we say that William Ruto must forget votes from the mountain, and he should focus on what he has done. Focus on in the Western Kenya, huko Nyanza, supporters of Raila Amolo Odinga. We all know, if you read what Kate Waguru is saying, that yesterday watu walikuwa kazi, they were paid. You saw the traditional dancers at the CDF demanding for their pay. So people who went to receive William Ruto were actually at work. They were given money to go and give that perception that William Ruto is still wanted in the mountain. And I remember Rigathi Gachagua had once told them that money is going to come here in bags. When they come with the money, take, because it is your money. After consuming the money, squander the money, but stand on your grounds. Know what is good for you. And William Ruto thought that after giving people money and giving out money, then the people would swear their allegiance to him. And contrary to what he thought, these people have turned against him. Wameshachukua pesa na hiyo imesha. And if you thought that maybe Mutahi Kahiga went there to betray Rigathi Gachagua, it's all out there. Rigathi sent him to go and read the mind of the enemy. Rigathi sent him to be there so that he can be part of the group that was protecting him. The heckling will continue, and it tells you that people are tired. That is the true picture on the ground. Ila ingine ilikuwa kuchukua pesa weke mfuko. But the true picture is Mount Kenya parted ways with William Ruto a long time ago. All these attempts are like the last kicks of a dying horse. It is gone. And nothing can bridge this gap. Of course, I understand that in politics, nothing is impossible. But as things stand now, hakuna. Hawa watu wameachana vile mtoto anaachana na titi la mamake. It is a gone case. It also means that anyone who is still allied to William Samoei Ruto, apart from enduring the heckling and the humiliation, will not see light of day come 2027. Led by people like Kimani Chungwa, they can only pray that William Ruto wins, because it is like a cat and mouse game. These are the same people who are supposed to listen to you. These are the same people who are supposed to keep quiet as you sell the ideologies of William Samoei Ruto. But heckling in communication would only mean that they don't want to listen to you. Because in communication, the person who's giving the message must also depend on the recipient of the message to listen to him. If they're not listening, then your attempts to disseminate that message is in vain. And so I'm here to submit to you that the mountain votes are gone. William Ruto paid, but the money has been, they took the money, but they don't want to pretend that they are switching their allegiance. We are waiting to see how Rigathi Gachagua is going to react. People are going to do a post-mortem after the 5 days. The mood will tell you that Ruto and Mount Kenya are no longer one thing. If you compare the visits, the tour, to the tours that he made immediately after the election, where they declared a shareholders government, where William Ruto told them that their government will not be infiltrated by the handshake, partners like Lamolo Odinga. Things are different. And William Ruto has betrayed Mount Kenya, and Mount Kenya know this. Any attempt to hoodwink them has backfired, because William Ruto really wanted that perception of politics. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the heckling will continue. These are things, things like heckling, Ruto must go, those songs will be synonymous in every forum where Ruto goes. I don't know what to think, but day 2 of Ruto's tour was just a fiasco. And I must agree with Karungo Thangwa, and I agree with Caleb Hamisi. Don't mistake the crowd for votes, and I believe William Ruto knows better. I don't know what to think, ladies and gentlemen, but that's my take.